Well, thank you for being here. I have to say, after Charity's dance, I said to Chris, I'm so glad I'm not next. I'm glad there's a person between us. So, I can't dance. So this is the first time I have ever done a reverse presentation. John invited me, and then I said, John, you want me at the ARinACTION Summit? And he said, yeah, do a reverse presentation. Talk about what you do, and then pose the ideas, to everybody in the audience to get feedback. So, like I always say to my team at Fort Ticonderoga, always think about the end user. So in some cases, with all of your fabulous minds and projects, think of me as possibly the end user, or Fort Ticonderoga as the end user for your products. So I'm going to have slides or images scrolling around in the course of the presentations today. And by the way, bravo to everybody for all of your presentations. You all have beautiful minds. It's so exciting to be here and to learn from all of you. And for my industry, I'm absolutely going to recommend 15-minute lightning talks, because you can imagine in the history profession, it's usually like an hour. And you're like, I can't take anymore. So I have these images scrolling around because I just want you to get a flavor of what we do and who we are at Fort Ticonderoga. I'm going to start with myself. I've been in the museum profession for about 25 years. I also have a business background as president and CEO of a nonprofit organization. I spend a lot of my time on the road engaging donors to give to us and support us, as well as leading our strategic growth. And we're undergoing a very exciting chapter in our story, a major capital campaign, which has several components, which I'll talk about in a little while. I like to say what we do is storytelling on a grand scale. And I've loved and maybe somewhat surprised, because I'm not in your profession, how much discussion today has been around storytelling. And I think a lot about that because, as Charity pointed out, and I'm sure others have today, it is an ancient art. It's an ancient art that has captured our collective memory. And it gives us a sense of where we were and where we're going and who we are. And that's so powerful. And it always surprises me when historic places say, oh, how can we be relevant? I think that's so lame to even have to ask that, because you're telling stories, you're engaging people in what connects us all. It's not just thinking about people across the world and trying to connect with them. Maybe we don't do a good job at that, but it's the past, and we'll be the past at some point too. And so it's just life, and it happened. And we want to learn from it and carry it forward in dramatic ways. And at Fort Ticonderoga, we have such an unbelievable palette to tell these stories and engage our public. And I really believe with AR and other technologies, we can do it in an even more spectacular way. And I have some ideas at the end with my neophyte ideas at the end to pose to you. So what we do at Fort Ticonderoga, we engage about 75,000 visitors a year. We have amazing museum collections. That's our curator right there within the walls of the fort. I want to go back just for a second and quickly. How many of you have been to Fort Ticonderoga? Yay, Judy's on the board. Oh, some of you, great. I love that. Excellent. Who knows who built Fort Ticonderoga? Anybody? This is going to be a lot more fun if I ask you questions. French. French, this was New France, right? So it sat on the front line of North America, and it is because of the strategic waterways that Chris is talking about. That's Lake Champlain, Lake George is on the other side. British tried to take it a couple years later, the most epic battle in the 18th century, bloodiest day in North America, 16,000 men. This is what I'm imagining for AR, 16,000 British soldiers trying to take this incredible place. They lost, incredible. French held it one more year. British then captured it 1759 for context and time. Moved forward to 1775, and the Americans realized what a strategic location it is. So Ethan Allen and Benedict Arnold and the Green Mountain Boys, it was not a happy union amongst those. They captured Ticonderoga, America's first victory of the Revolution. The Americans hold it. They hold the line for liberty in 1776 as the British are pressing down, trying to take this strategic location. 1777, the British take it. I'm almost done. This is complex. By 1781, pretty much the war is over. Ticonderoga, the place, goes to the state of New York, and then New York gives it to Columbia College and Union College to then sell as like an endowment. And we're very fortunate. because a man named William Ferris Pell, a very wealthy merchant who was a loyalist, purchased the land and put a fence around the fort in 1820. This is the earliest act of preservation by a private individual. Zoom forward a little ways, and you have actually, you see this, like, at some point you'll see a beautiful white home and a garden. That was the Pell family home that sits on our property. Zoom forward 2 generations later, Stephen and his wife Sarah Pell in 1908 decide to restore the fort and establish our museum. So I bring up those points, and that's really quick history of Ticonderoga, because I believe today we're on the shoulders of these giants. So the earliest preservation in America, the earliest restoration of its kind. These were storytellers, these people that held this land. The torch was passed to them to preserve the past. They were thinking about the future of history when they preserved this place. And they were thinking about it when they built the fort. They rebuilt the environment. It was ruins. And they imagined what it could be. Now, that's their estate there that we're restoring right now, actually. It's very exciting. Come see us. So today, moving forward, we have this incredible opportunity to augment what we're already doing with all of our living history programs, our museum exhibits, our outreach, our educational program. We have a strong academic component with our education fellows and our outreach and so on, seminars, to really carry it forward for the next generation. And I believe deeply in the power of engaging people. I think there's really nothing more powerful than that. There's nothing more powerful than to feel that energy from the person right in front of you. I'm sure all of you in AR think, how can we create those emotions, that you can really feed off of people and that interaction? But I think it's also a really great opportunity to think about, how do we augment that? How do we take landscape? How do we take this incredible place and the kinds of interactions we create to tell stories, and the smells and the fear that you might feel. I'll never forget when I was 4 years old, I went to Ticonderoga the first time, Fife and Drum marched in. I thought it was the scariest thing ever, and I never forgot that moment. Not the fife, I like fife and drum music, and they played well. But I was in this really dramatic place with these sounds, and it was this powerful place. And I think about that 4-year-old little girl that was on that parade ground, and how I felt. And I often think about, how do you recreate those moments for people? Because just like Charity was saying, if you feel that emotion, you connect to it. And we need to make sure that present and future generations connect to the past so we have context. So my lightning round is almost over. What I'm posing to you, we have a few opportunities, and then I want to hear back from you. One, how can we augment our programs on a grand scale? We own that mountain over there. The recreation of these experiences that highlight motivations of service and all the nations that came to Ticonderoga, and how that shaped the nations of North America. How do we augment that? How can we supplement what we're already doing? We have a maker's shop. We do all kinds of great historic trades. Also, in our future museum, what opportunities do we have in that space to engage our audience? I know there's been some talk, Brendan, I think was his name, the Cuseum. I asked him the question about, how many people are they using apps? Because a lot of studies show that people are not using apps when they're going to destinations. Maybe 6 to 7% of the people, and I'm not talking about just like our kind of destination. I'm talking about amusement parks. People are not using apps. So how are we going to engage with the audience, even if it's within the museum? And how do we keep up with technology? If we're investing millions, we don't want it to go out of date overnight. And we're in a rural location, so how do we keep it up? So those are things that I'm considering within the museum. That's the earliest known painting of Lake George, by the way, that we have in our collection. And then the other thing is remotely. Because we're so remote, we have to find ways to engage our broader audience with our educational programs. We have really incredible museum collections, and we're growing those. And how can we be a resource for the globe with our collections that span the Atlantic world from the 18th century that are really significant, rare, and important? How do we do that through the use of technology, and in this case, being here, AR? So I'm posing all of that to you. History is life. It's our lives. It connects us to who we are as a people. And this is a really incredible opportunity. And I encourage all of you to share with me your ideas. Yeah. We do have a graduate fellowship program. We provide housing. So we absolutely would love if you have interns or graduate students, or if you are one of those that you want to be part of our team, we would love that.